Hello, can you hear me, Amber?
I can now, yes.
How are you?
How are you?
I'm good. I'm Amber too. Amber and Amber.
Yes, see, we got the A team today.
Got the A team happening. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to finally get on our podcast.
Of
Lots
course.
to share. I'm going to do just a quick intro and I want to just really read off some of your bio so that I don't miss anything. And then we'll kind of hop into just share a little bit of your backstory. And then we'll lead into how that ended up into the MONAT world and MONAT journey. And we'll kind of go from there. Does that sound good?
Perfect.
We'll, we'll
Yeah.
keep, we'll keep it real. All right, perfect. Let me just open this here. Hey everybody, it's your host Amber and welcome to another episode of the Behind Her Boom podcast. I am so excited to introduce today's very special guest. Kat, 1 second, I can turn my phone off. All right. Hey everyone, this is your host, Amber from Behind Her Boom podcast, coming to you today with a very special guest. She was a member of the Mickey Mouse Club when she was just 5 years old. She was UFC's first official Octagon girl back in 2002, from UFC 34 to 59. I can go on and on here. She's been a spokesmodel in 2009. She's made national commercials for the company. She has been on the cover of magazines, including Muscle and Fitness, FHM, Oxygen, GQ, Maxim, Sports Illustrated, Fighters Only. Yes, I'm reading this because I didn't want to forget anything. Luxury, Tap Out, Las Vegas, So Vegas, LVL, DXL, NA Authority. I mean, it goes on and on, you guys. On top of that, she's been on the spotlights of Runway, Amari Melvi. She's been on TV personality on WAGS, LA Season 3 on E! This is absolutely incredible. She is one of the most beautiful and influential models out there. She's also the beautiful wife to the one and only Huntington Beach Bad Boys, Tito Ortiz, from UFC as well. And just to share a little bit of her biography, and she'll get into a little bit more, but I have Amber Nicole Ortiz on here with me today, born and raised in Denver, Colorado, and with a single mom and a grandma, and really heavily involved in sports and modeling and cheerleading. And it kind of goes on and on, but she does have a really great backstory here, especially to how her and her husband Tito met, how they raised their children. And I want to kind of give you the introduction, Amber, to really tap in on that and share with our audience of that, because I feel like the majority of my audience is moms, it's women, and we get so caught up in building our businesses and the social world, and kids are living on their phones or whatever kind of thing I can do to distract them. That's not the case with your household, right? So
Yeah.
welcome, Amber, to the show.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I we approach parenting and I'm so glad that we really see eye to eye in how we want our boys to be raised. And one of our biggest things was we didn't want them to only be on social media. We didn't give them any phones or iPads or anything until they were 14. We actually read an article about Steve Jobs not giving his kids the iPhone until they were 14. It just has that there's so much access. There's so much that your kids don't need to see or have access to at such a young age, especially when their brains are forming, and when, social media is already so crazy and making kids feel very insecure or feeling like they have to be something that they're not. So we approach that in a way that, we want them to be very active like we were when we were kids. We're Gen Xers, so we grew up, sliding down the metal slide and playing outside and building forts and riding dirt bikes and doing all of those sort of things, and creating lasting memories with friends. And that for us is so important. And they're really heavily involved in wrestling and jujitsu. So when we do give them the phones, and we take them away quite often and frequently, because it gets to be too much, that it's too much access, it's too much disconnect. And we don't want them to feel like that's their only source of reaching out to people or connecting with people. And so many negative things, especially with places like Snapchat, where you don't know what they're talking about or what they're hiding. And it's scary because, you see what kind of people are out there, and you see, that it's dangerous for kids to be online.
It's super scary. How old are the boys now, Amber?
They're 14. They'll be 15 in March, which is crazy. Like the time goes by so
We're going
fast.
to be driving downtown Miami soon.
Yeah,
Oh my
seriously.
goodness. The last time I connected with you, you guys were leaving Huntington Beach, California. You've been here for quite some time. How many years have you lived here before you made the big family move out to Florida?
Yeah, I moved to be with the boys in 2013, and I lived there for 9 years. Prior to that, I lived in Vegas for 18 years, and before that, 18 years in Colorado, where I grew up. Um, California will always have a special place in my heart. It was my dream place. I always wanted to live there when I was growing up in Colorado. That's where my dad lives. Um, and Huntington Beach was incredible. It really was. The people, the weather, it can't be beat. And unfortunately, it got very heavily political, and the sexualization of our kids in the schools is just we couldn't do it anymore. We had to pull the kids and homeschool them for the last 2 years that we were in California because of what they were trying to teach them. And, even when we let them go back just to test it out, they have a history teacher telling them that Christians created slavery and told them that anybody should be allowed to have an abortion. And I'm like, why are you talking about these
The
things?
children. Yeah.
It's wild. And, we really wanted to move somewhere where we knew our boys would be safe, but also, my gosh, I have not, I've never had neighbors like this, maybe when I was in Colorado growing up, but every single neighbor went out of their way to welcome us to the community when we first moved here to Florida. It's very Southern hospitality. And it was a bit of a shock. In 9 years of living in California, I think I knew three of my neighbors.
I live in Orange County. I know two neighbors, and it's only because they have kids the same age as mine.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're lucky if you get a wave in the morning. It's a little bit sad, that it's kind of come down to that we can't live the neighborly way. Like I grew up in a subdivision, right? Of just hanging
Yeah.
out outside, digging in the dirt. Here's your peanut butter and jelly sandwich on the doorstep, eat it when you're hungry. And
Yeah.
nowadays it's almost like scary to just let your kids you know, be left. You can't leave them outside, unless you're
No.
in a gated, secluded community or something. So
Yeah.
are you homeschooling them now, or are they in school in Florida?
They're in school. They started in middle school out here. They finished that. So they're in their first year of high school, which is crazy. And they're on the high school wrestling team. They're doing really good. One of our boys is in a lot of like accelerated classes, and we're looking forward to it. It's tough though, it's tough fitting in, but also, teens, we have to remember, right? Teens were, starting to be very rambunctious, and the sneak out, and kids are all thinking that it's really cool to vape. And I hate that that's how our world is. But I remember when I was a kid, everybody thought it was cool to try cigarettes,
Yeah.
but I think the vape thing has gotten so out of hand, especially with our teens, that it's so accessible and it's made for them. It's made in flavors that would attract them and draw them. And I think that they knew what they were doing when they're marketing these things. And it's terrible for them. And with my boys being athletes, I really try to instill in them like what you're doing to your body. If you do smoke those, you're not going to be performing at your best. You have plenty of time when you get older and you want to try something like that, go ahead. But, I don't want them to, obviously, as a mom, I'm like, I'd rather you not do anything bad ever for the rest of your life. But, they're teenagers. So, we could hope and pray.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I think you're doing a fantastic job. I mean, just to sort of see what goes on and to be mindful of that, and then want to make the cautious decision of pulling your kids out and doing what's necessary, I think is huge, because I think a lot of parents might just get a little bit, they just kind of let it like oversee that. They don't really want to see what's going on there, and then they just kind of go amongst their daily lives, and they're busy, and that sort of thing, and then you worry about what are they seeing. I mean, there was an article about YouTube Kids, for example, of, you give it to your child and it's based on preschool. They can only see what's available for ages 3 to 5 or 4 to 6, but it's really not the case. You really have no control over what they're seeing when you hand over that device. So
Well, and here I think that a lot of people are detached, right? Because even when we grew up, our parents sort of didn't know what we were up to. We were latchkey kids. We were given a key. We were told to get in by the street lights and play with your friends. And they had no idea what we were doing all day long, right? And we try to raise our kids in the same way, but there's so much influence and there's so much negativity, and there's so many things that social media brings into the table that is, it makes it a little scary. But, I noticed even when I started talking about what was happening in the school and what they were teaching the kids in the school, I had parents go, I had no idea they've been teaching that to my kids, because your kids are not going to come home and go, oh my gosh, guess what, the teacher was talking about this sexual position or this, and saying that it's safe sex. And
They
I
think
was
it's
blown
normal. Like
away.
that's what they're going to teach because they trust in the teachers.
Right. Well, again, when you grew up, like your teacher wasn't teaching you those things,
Yeah.
like I remember learning about sexually transmitted diseases in the 7th grade. And I was like, I am never having sex ever. And it's not like that anymore. Now they're giving them options, and they're teaching them, positions, and they're telling them that if they try drugs, to use a clean needle. I'm like, just flabbergasted when I read these things. I'm like, what they're doing is they're completely stealing our children's innocence by introducing things that their minds are not ready for.
Yeah, my son, I have a 4 and 7-year-old, and my son actually came home, my 7-year-old, and told me the difference between a prescription drug and a non-prescription drug. And I just thought, wow, like what class is that in to know a prescription drug? I don't think I would have even asked that until I was maybe
Yeah.
in high school. You were
Right.
given penicillin when you were sick, but I would have never known that there was anything different than that than what you get from a doctor. So that
Yeah.
was, it's a little overwhelming for me to even think of. So you're in Florida now. Your
Yeah.
kids are doing fantastic. I know you and Tito, you guys do a lot when it comes to just really, you have a voice and you're allowing that voice to be heard, and you guys are sharing, you guys are making movement and doing a lot. And I hear a lot of things on trafficking and things like that, really like protecting our kids, which I love, by the way. My husband's partner with me in our business too. And that's our biggest is what can we do to help kids and children? And, one of our biggest dreams here in 2024, 2025 is to open an orphanage in Syria, because my husband is, his family's from Syria. So to have something there for the women and children. But what do you guys do, and how does, your guys' role sort of in the celebrity world status be able to play a part in that, to have a voice and to be able to make a difference?
Yeah, well, I have to attribute my passion and my commitment to spreading awareness and talking about it to COVID, to be quite honest. In 2020, we were all locked down, and we had the internet, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. The amount of predatory behavior that happens on social media was one of my first things. I was like, this needs to be talked about. We need to introduce parents to the idea that, any Instagram or any social media app, if they have a chat, a predator can get to your kids, even in Roblox. And I hate to burst people's bubbles when they're like, my kid plays Roblox. I'm like, there's a chat in Roblox. So you don't know who can talk to your kids. You just have to have those conversations with your kids. You need to have the conversations of, safe touch. And if you're uncomfortable, or, I dove into this a little bit, even, in 2020, I talked about, around Christmas time, when you're forcing your kids to sit on Santa's lap and they're crying their eyes out, we're grooming our own children to make them think that as long as I say sit on this person's lap and you don't want to, and now I've pushed away your feelings and made it okay to sit on a stranger's lap. So and I know that sounds so weird, because you're like,
Right, but you're so right. Now I'm thinking of it and I'm like, oh my gosh, I would never think of that growing up. And you
yeah,
laugh at the pictures of the kids screaming, crying on like the Easter Bunny and Santa, but
yeah,
that's so true, right?
yeah.
Like,
So, and we talk about, predators, especially with Orange County. So Orange County is actually the biggest trafficking hub in all of California. And the fact that, these traffickers they go after moms who have 2 kids, right? Their biggest target is usually a mom who has a baby and a toddler. And they'll go after the toddler because the mom's not going to like drop the baby and run after her child. So for me, when we started doing seminars and teaching parents to be aware of their surroundings, and it's more than situational awareness, it's more than watching your purse. We watch our purse better than we watch our kids sometimes, because they're like, running off and they're a little rambunctious. But you have to think that the predatory behavior is so apparent and so big. And, when I started talking about, the numbers of trafficking victims, I was attacked big time. I lost all my social media. I had a foundation, a charitable foundation. I had a clothing line with a big red hand that said "Save Our Children," and it was on all the clothes. I just wanted to start conversations. I wanted people to go, "What does it mean to save our children? What is that? What is that shirt? What is that?" And I had my boys wear it to school, and we did a seminar with, parents, and said, listen, we want your kids to not only be situationally aware, which is really hard because they're like little deer in headlights and they're running around and they're not situationally aware at all. But we have to start having those conversations with them at a young age. And unfortunately, that's the world we live in. And we don't want to scare them, but we want them to be aware. If somebody makes them feel uncomfortable, if there's somebody close to them, or if they feel like somebody's watching them, they need to be aware of those sort of things. And then we taught them, how to defensively get away from somebody, or even the moms, we're like, if you have a baby and you have like, you need to be able to defensively, fight for your children. It's a really sad situation that we're in, because it's seen so bipartisanly, and it's seen that only conservatives care about trafficking because we're conspiracy theorists, and it's not real, and not 300,000 plus children don't go missing every year. Well, that's a fact that over the entire world, it's about 3 million children go missing, which is just like devastating. But I've gotten into arguments with women online, and they're like, you're lying and you're stealing people's money. And it's more like 300 kids go missing. And it breaks my heart that they even say that. I'm like, I don't
Even
care.
think that.
One, it's
Yeah.
one. What if it's your one? If your child is the one, and nobody's telling you that this is happening, and that, to be aware of these signs of, grooming, or, even teachers grooming, and people you look up to, coaches and police officers. I mean, there's bad people in every business. And unfortunately, you have to make your children aware of what's good talk, right? What are you allowing somebody to have conversations with you about without your parents around? And we see this now with the grooming and the sexuality, and taking parents' rights away from their parents, and going, well, we can take your kid, like California, 12 years old, you can go get a sex change with your teacher and not tell your parents, or not sex change, but the blockers, the puberty blockers. And you can also, but you can go get an abortion without your parent also, as of 12 years old, which is like, it's mind blowing. It's heartbreaking. And it's already these, at 12 years old, you're so freaking confused. My kids are 14, and they're going through like all the hormones and all the things. Like, they couldn't be making life-changing choices at this age.
At that age. They're just understanding, like, why is my voice changing? Like, what's going, why
why am I emotional wreck? Yeah.
Yeah, to make conversations and decisions like that, it's just, yeah, it's completely, just mind blowing that that's an option. I mean, I came from Canada, and I've been in Orange County now for 4 years, so this is still all actually new to me too. I always felt like, well, if we get into like a subdivision that requires a gate to get entry, then at least we're protected in that little area. But at the same time, like, you don't know who your neighbors are. You don't know who's living next door, and the mailman that comes by and just hangs out at the mailbox for like 10 minutes. I'm like, is he still shuffling through mail? Like, what is he doing? He's creepy. And then my son will be like, why is he creepy? Why is the mailman creepy? I'm like, he's just like checking things out. I don't know.
Well, and here's a statistic that, most people don't talk about. The average, person who, does, buy sex trafficking materials, or, something like that, is a white heterosexual man who makes around 400,000 a year and has at least one child. So for me to know that that is, a reality in the United States,
the men of Orange County.
it really is. And it's like, it's so devastating. And all we can do is really prepare our children and let them know that, we're their safe space. And if someone makes them, feel uneasy or uncomfortable, or says something that they think is weird, that they need to be open and honest with us and share about those things. And I don't think the school should be allowed to. I don't think that the teacher should be allowed to. And, I remember before we moved, there was a bill in California to be passed. It thankfully was squashed, but they wanted to teach kindergartners masturbation. For me, hearing those words and thinking, well, first, what teacher is going to teach babies this? You've got to be a predator, because that doesn't make any sense that you would be teaching babies anything about touching themselves or any form of sexuality. And again, it just goes right back into how they're like, oh, well, you can decide if you want to be a boy or a girl, and you're in the wrong body, and you can have a pronoun, and you can be a furry, and you can be all these crazy things. No, they like, if you can't even vote. You can't even make a legal decision. You can't drive. You can't drink. You can't, there's an age limit for these things because they say that, even getting a tattoo, you have to be 18 to get a tattoo
Yeah,
by yourself.
you shouldn't
And
have
then
to
if,
be 18 to make any of those decisions at all, anything to do with your body at
yeah,
all. I mean, even at 18, they're still kids, but
yeah.
better than 12. Well, so I know this is a hot topic. I feel like we could talk about it forever, and I would learn so much. I know our viewers would learn so much too. And it'll create conversation, but it's conversations that needs to be had and not to be, just sort of left in the dark.
Yeah.
Everybody should be talking about it. You're in Florida now, and I know on your social media, the reason I had really reached out and connected is in our space of really having this as a podcast for women and entrepreneurs and businesses to have a voice to share, but also to have a voice to show people that anybody and everybody can truly make a difference. They can truly have, that life of financial freedom. A lot of people get into the network marketing space and they think, oh, if you're not an influencer, or you don't have 100,000 followers, or you don't do this, or you don't do that, you can't make it in that space. But I mean, over the last 4 or 5 years, I've talked to hundreds of women who can, just the average, Nancy, Betty, Julie sort of thing, your next door neighbor friend who've made a killing in this space. But to see somebody of your caliber in your space to actually come and join the network marketing, that's what gets a lot of people talking. Like, whoa, hold on. There's a celebrity joining. There's a real, housewife of Orange County that's joining, a network marketing company. So now we've got, Amber Nicole, she's joining network marketing. So what made you decide? And I mean, I can see all your certificates behind
Yeah.
here. We'll make sure that there's clips on social media that sees all that. So you're crushing it in your space, obviously. But what made you kind of flick that switch to say, I'll give that a shot? And now where are you today?
I loved your introduction about it because that's, everyone says that, right? If you don't have a big following, or if you don't, if you're not great at lives, or if you're not great at social media, then you're not going to be successful in network marketing. And, to be quite honest, our mothers were the first network marketers. Like, if they were doing Tupperware or Mary Kay or any of those things, or candles, or like, I remember my mom always had candle parties or Tupperware parties. And, and it has to do with finding something for you. And this is why I did it. So becoming a stay-at-home mom was a bit of a shock for me when I moved to California. Because my whole life I've always worked 2 or 3 jobs because I just love it. And I have a bit of ADHD, so I need like that constant like stimuli.
Yeah.
But when about 2 years in of dating Tito and taking care of the littles, I was bombarded with social media haters and, really bad harassment from his ex and just craziness. And I started to really lose myself. And I didn't know who I was anymore. I wasn't that same vivacious, driven, happy person. I would be happy on the exterior for the kids and for Tito, but I felt very empty and sort of like I was missing something. And I went back to school to do permanent makeup and skincare. And, I started doing that, with my local clients in Huntington Beach. And there was still, again, that would be, 1 or 2 facials a week. And I was like, I'm still just feel like I'm missing something. My girlfriend, who's been doing my hair since 2008, and I've always worn massive extensions, like 3 and 4 bundles, big lion's mane. She introduced me to a product. It was like a blowout cream, and it made all of my hair, including the extensions, feel so silky and soft. I was like, what is this? Whatever this is, I need this. And she started telling me about the products, and she's like, I think you'd be great at it. And I'm like, I don't need it. I don't need a business. I'm team. I don't need new friends. I've got, my few people that are my friends, I'm good. But because she's my friend, I wanted to support her. So I was like, okay, well, which way do I make the biggest discount, and which way will help you the most? So just tell me how to do that. And she was like, well, market partner would be best. And you can look at these packages. And, the person in me who's definitely like an athlete and very competitive, I was like, well, I'm getting the success pack, because if I'm going to do this, I'm going to be successful. Right. And I didn't jump right in. I signed up. Actually, I'm about to hit my 3rd year, February 1st. I signed up, tried the products. I was already in love. And I signed up my neighbor, my mom, like just a few people, like random people on social media were like, hey, I'll sign up with you. And at the time, I'll tell you guys this, I only had 1,200 followers because I had lost all of my page. I had lost all of my pages because of child trafficking. So November 5th, 2020, I was completely wiped off the internet. So no Facebook, no Instagram and Twitter. They all completely like removed me. So I had to start over. And I had this page that I'm on now. That's why it's called Amber Nicole Miller 2. I had this page already, and I was doing like fitness stuff in my backyard, like mom fitness. Like, what can you do? What things can you use around the house to work out? If you don't have time to go to the gym. And I was trying to like figure it out, right? I just needed some way to help people, and I didn't know how I was going to do it. And when I was going into March, which would have been my second month, I was asked right at the very, very beginning of March to go speak at an event that they were having for MONAT in Huntington Beach. And I was like, well, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I don't really know that much about the business or the products. And they go, well, we want you to talk about why you would say yes. And I was like, okay, well, I could talk about that. Like, that's easy. I said yes because I was looking for something to light my fire, for some way to help people and know that, it's something I stand behind. And when I found out that, the products are certified clean by a scientific advisory board, that they're cruelty free, they're actually went the extra mile and got the Leaping Bunny certification, and the fact that they're made in America. For me, that checked all the boxes. Yeah. That stands for all the things that I think are important. That stands for, and then do the products work? Yeah, they do. And they under promise and over deliver, which is a huge plus. And it's, I got all the things, right? Everyone's like, it's a pyramid scheme and it's a this and it's well, I hate to break it to you, but every business is a pyramid, every business. And I don't care unless you're a one-man show, every business is a pyramid. There's always going to be somebody who owns it. There's going to be people who work for him, who work for them, all the way down to the mailman and trash man and whatever it is. So it's not a bad thing to be in a pyramid, but it's so much better to be at the top of the pyramid. And that's what network marketing allows you to do. It allows you to start your own pyramid and be the top and help others all the way down, right? And even more so than even a regular business, because you really have the reach. You have the ability to reach down to people in your third and fourth level and be like, I see the fire within you. I want to help you. Let's get you making money. Let's get you, earning the trips. Let's do all these things. And somebody did that to me. And she's actually, at the time, she was like 9 above me. And she was the one who asked me to speak at the Huntington Beach thing. And she's like, you need to do this. You will be so good at this. After I was talking, she's like, you have that fire within you. You would be so good. And it was like that one person going, you could do this, you could kill this. And I was like, okay, I'm going to then. And from that moment on, I decided I'm never going to miss a trip. I'm going to earn the Cadillac by my birthday. So I earned my first paid for trip with Tito and I to go to Punta Cana by July. And then I earned my Cadillac by December for my birthday. And, being able to do all that in just 8 months, it was easier than I thought it was, because I just put my head into it. I started talking to people, and when I realized I could change people's lives, I could literally, single moms who are struggling and they're going, I just need something. And I'm like, well, guess what? Everybody washes their hair. Everybody, unless you don't have hair like my husband. Everybody washes their hair and everybody moisturizes their skin. And most people are not happy with their results because they're using the same stuff that has silicone and filler and all this buildup in your hair. And if you don't use the right products, your hair will never grow past. I thought this was the amber length, right? My whole entire life. And that's why I always got extensions, but it's not. When I was in high school, my hair was down to my waist. It's just, you get it in your head that's, oh, it's just getting older. It just stops growing. That's not true. It's your scalp health. And being able to educate people and help them. And then, I'll tell you, my why started out very selfish, right? Everybody goes, what's your why? Why did you start network marketing? Well, my why was to win. I wanted all the things. I wanted the accolades. I wanted the things and the pins and the shout outs and the plaques and all the fun stuff. My why now has changed when I got a phone call from someone who was single mom or is a single mom raising 2 kids, She had raised three, one was out of the house, but she had like college tuitions and proms and all the things coming up, and she was struggling. And she's a full-time PA. What is she? She does taxes. I can't think of what it is, but
Oh, like an accountant or
she's an accountant. Yeah. So she's full-time doing that, but she was still struggling to make ends meet. And I called her and I said, what are you doing? And she's like sitting in her car and she goes, well, I got $50 and I need to get some groceries, but I also need a little bit of gas so that I can get the girls to and from school. And I'm just struggling a little. And I'm like, it's payday. You know that, right? And she's like, what does that mean? I go look at your back office. So she pulled it up on her phone and she started crying. And she was like, oh my gosh. She's like, it's over $1,000. She's like, oh my gosh, this is my first commission check. And I said, that's right. And it'll be automatically deposited in your account now. So you're good. So go fill up your car and go get groceries. And for me, hearing her cry and a sigh of relief and just knowing that that's the impact of this. It's not about the sales. It's not about being the top runner. It's not about all the trips. Like all those things, yes, are great. The car is great. The trips are great. But knowing that you could impact somebody's life in that way, and then genuinely, like, she's a lifer, right? I'll be a lifer for MONAT. And, there's a ton of things and there's a ton of products and businesses that you can be a part of. And, I start lots of businesses. I think I have like 11 businesses right now, but I will always be loyal to MONAT because I know the impact that it's having on people in their hair, their skin, and then in their lives. So for me, that's what changes this for me. And this is why people go, oh, you guys are like a cult. I'm like, no, when you feel that, when you feel that genuine sigh of relief and that heartfelt like tear that was like, you just saved me. This just saved me. For me, there's no other way.
No, I love the space, and that's why I focus so much on talking to women and men about that opportunity, because the average single mom, she can't go and just, start a business or get a franchise because she's got nothing in her bank account. But
Yeah.
if you can at least, just make it short that 1 week just to get that little product pack, whatever that is, just to get your foot in the door, it's just an opportunity of just uncapped potential. But it takes, I always have, content about mindset, because, you can say yes, but then it comes down to really, truly believing in yourself that you deserve this, that you're capable, that you're worthy of doing it, and that you have the same opportunity as everybody else to get out there and put yourself out there, and not to play the comparison game and get, really caught up in everybody else, but rather go and find somebody. Like if somebody's loving watching you win and watching all the impact that you're making, then follow along and take some of that content, take your hair tutorials and go make them your own, that sort of thing, to really learn from. But it's just such an incredible space and you're doing incredibly well with it. But like you said, you're making an impact and you're changing people's lives, which is, I think there's just no dollar amount that you can put towards that. So it's incredible.
Yeah, so much. It just, I think that a lot of people also get so stuck in ego. And I did when I first started. I had so many people tell me, oh my gosh, this is so beneath you. You can't do an MLM and, you're selling other people's products. And I'm like, I've been a model my entire life. I've always sold other people's products.
Yeah.
Like I just
Yeah, you're
do.
promoting them. That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And social selling is no different, and we do it every day anyway. And this is what I love telling this story because we do it every day anyway. When you're walking around and someone goes, oh my God, I love your nails. You go, oh my gosh, I go to this person at this studio, right? Or you say, they love your haircut. You're like, oh, I have this great hair girl. Or where'd you get your outfit? And you go, oh my gosh, I just got it on sale. Here, I'll show you, what store, whatever it is. We share it anyway. We share it anyways. Why not share something that you can stand behind that's a part of you now? It's your product now. It's a piece of you. It works. And you love it and you like it. Why not share it and then also be compensated for it? So for me, it really is a no-brainer.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned that you've got like 11 businesses going on now, and you've been a couple of years with MONAT. So
Yeah.
we're getting kind of new into 2024. You guys made the move, you're settled into Florida. What is next for you? What's next for your family? What's 2024 bringing for Amber these days?
Wow. I mean, I've been doing a lot of stuff, well, obviously we opened a restaurant, and it's one of hopefully 10 here in Florida. So that's been really incredible. And my husband's been coaching our kids' wrestling team. So for him, that just lights his fire. And for me, I started digital marketing. Took a digital marketing course. I know a lot of people are talking about them, right? The MRR and the other course that's $1,200, or the $7 course, or all the things, right? And it has a stigma. It definitely does. And I've seen women leave MONAT, and I've seen women leave like Melaleuca and all these to do digital marketing, and they're really being, impactful in that space also. And for me, I took it because it was such a great learning experience, and I'm still taking the course, but it helps me with my MONAT business. It helps me with the confidence. It teaches you about social media. It teaches you about when to post. It teaches you just, how to show up authentically, but also as professionally as possible. So that was a big leap for me. I really liked being in this digital marketing space. I actually bought the course for our oldest son for Christmas. I was like, I'm going to gift you a course that will help you in college, and it also gives you revenue. You can resell the course for 100% profit. So for me, that is incredible. And then I just recently linked arms with a friend of mine who her father is Victor Marks. And if you don't know him, he has a ministry. They do lots of child trafficking. They do saving and rehoming and therapy, and it's all of the things that, I stand for and are so important. And they've linked arms with a couple of other really great conservative Christian influencers in the social media space, and it's vitamins. But every time you order, 90% of the proceeds go towards the ministry. And that for me is a home run, because I'm a vitamin freak. I take vitamins every day anyway. And I'm like, if I'm going to be buying them anyway, and most people should be taking vitamins. If you're in your 30s and above, you should be taking vitamins, but they need to be high absorption, and they need to be of quality, and they need to actually, deliver what they say they do. On top of that, knowing that 90% of the proceeds are going towards, saving trafficking victims and rehoming them and rehabilitating them. That for me is now a new passion. And so I pivot between the two when I'm talking on social media, because a lot of people want to be a part of something. And, if I can give them options of being a part of something, and you make good commissions with that as well. But so far behind that for me is I wanted a way to contribute. I wanted a way to do something on the other side of it, because, my whole entire social media got shut down, and my website had to be removed, and it got really sticky, and it was really sad, because I felt very let down by the community for, people attacking me and reporting me and saying that, these things are lies, which, we all know. I mean, we can see this really, really openly right now when you're looking at the Maxwell, court stuff. So for me, that was another thing. So, and that's called the Math Club. I love it. Being involved in something like that, it really does, light another fire in me. And I love being involved with something that I know is so close to everyone's heart. And if it isn't, then you're probably predatory. I mean, really, I talk to people, I'm like, if you're not for protecting children, then you're a predator. So.
And you're against, yeah. I mean, I love everything that you guys are standing for, and you're really making an impact. The fact that you lost everything and you're rebuilding it up again. I mean, it's just a way to just create more authentic influence and really just have your voice. People get shut down all the time, but it's not a time to quit. That's just a time to just speak louder. So whatever you can do to even be louder, I think is absolutely incredible. I've heard a lot about the digital marketing course, and I think they can go hand in hand as well. It's not like joining MONAT and then going and joining Saint and trying to build the two businesses together. It's something, that they can work together. So I think that's fantastic. Well, where can everybody find you, Amber? I'm so excited that we finally got to chat on here. I feel like we could have monthly podcasts and talk about all kinds of hot topics on here. Where can people find you on social? And I'll put it in the chat as well.
Oh, thank you so much. Okay, well, so you can find me on Instagram, and I've got lots of Instagram handles. I am like the one mom dynamo. I run my cat's page, my kids page, my husband's restaurant, my MONAT page, my digital marketing page, my beauty page. I have lots of pages, but you can find me directly at Amber Nicole Miller 2, and it's AmberNicholemiller, and then number 2. That's where you can find me on Instagram. On Facebook, I'm Amber Nicole Ortiz. Also Amber Nicole Ortiz on TikTok. I'm trying with TikTok. TikTok is like a hole that you sort of just get into, a scroll hole, especially when it's like murder mystery stuff. So I'm trying to like stay focused when I'm in there. But,
You can get lost for hours in there.
you know what? I'm not a young kid anymore. I just turned 46, so it's so hard to be like, get in there and be like, how do I be trendy in TikTok? Like, I don't know.
Or Snap. Wouldn't even know how to turn that on. I'm like,
No.
you can chat in Snap. What else do you do in Snap?
Yeah,
A whole
a
nother world
lot.
in there. Yeah.
Yeah, my kids are a little obsessed with Snap. That's why, again, it's just I'm like, I'm not a fan of Snap. Like, if I could see all your conversations, then cool. If you guys don't delete any of your stuff, cool, and then you can be on there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I love that. I think you're doing fantastic. You're such an awesome mom and wife, and you're really just hustling and growing this incredible team of MONAT market partners and building a community around there. So if you guys are interested in reaching out, make sure that you do connect with her, follow her on social. There's so much great things that's happening over in your world. So I really appreciate you taking the time to come on here and share this all with us. And thank you guys again. This is your host, Amber, on Behind Her Boom podcast. Until next time, we will see you on the other side. That was great. Thank you, Amber. I'm going to
Of
stop
course.
recording.